you wanna be. We can always start to believe. Listen to your heart. Tell me that you understand. 'Cause you are the one for me. If you just believe, 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 believe. Listen to your heart.
Yes, people, welcome back. Hashtag Salah back. Hashtag Mohamed Salah is back, people, and he's ready to batter City. No, joking.
Stop.
Only joking,
Stop.
people. Calma. Myself and Joe were just talking about that Liverpool Rangers game off camera before we went live there, and we were saying it is just kind of typical, though, that Liverpool will put 7 past a team a couple days before they play against us in a massive Premier League game. And listen, honestly, I still don't think it's going to have a huge amount of bearing on Sunday's game. I think City will go in with the same mindset regardless, and I think we're much better than on paper. But listen, enough about City-Liverpool. I've got before we get started properly into tonight's conversation, I want to let you guys know there's a massive stream tomorrow on this channel at 5 p.m. UK and Ireland time. We have the one and only James Redmond. Sadio Mane, he's the best player in the world, coming on to the 1894 tomorrow night to chat to us at 5 p.m, so the evening time, to chat about Liverpool versus City. I'm genuinely absolutely buzzing to see what James has to say about this game. He's a hilarious guy. He's always got funny stuff to say, and he's got good knowledge. He's got good ball knowledge too, in fairness to him. It'll be an entertaining one, people. James Redmond, an entertaining guy, so I'm looking forward to that. So be there for City versus Liverpool preview with James Redmond. Massively looking forward to that. Listen, there's 16 people in the building with us right now. Make sure you've all hit the thumbs up button. It massively helps this channel grow. We're just over 200 away now from 4,000. Help the community grow, people. Let's get to 4,000. Let's get this community booming. 4,000 loading, coming soon, people. Let's see what we have in the building, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Who have we got in the building? Kerwin, Alec, Hello Blues, John, starting a rave in here, lads. Yeah, listen, what do you guys think of our new starting stream music? We changed it up. There used to be kind of like a boring, almost library-esque kind of tune, background tune, and now we have a proper banger to get you guys buzzing for all these streams, because we get buzzing for these streams. You best believe I'm listening to this music before I get on to chat to you, so I can get hyped up. I can get in the vibes. I can get myself ready. It helps us all. Let me know what you think. And if you have any other suggestions for songs that you might like to hear, let us know. As long as it's copyright free. We don't want YouTube taking any peas off us either. We know what you are like, YouTube. Tyrese, yes. Metal Rocks Me says, why does everybody want Haaland to get injured? We're going to actually get into that. We have a bit of a conversation to have about Erling Haaland. I know we talk about Haaland a lot, but could you blame us? The guy's on fire right now. He's the man of the Premier League. He's the most hot topic in world football right now. Of course, we're going to keep talking about this guy, and every single day there's new reports regarding Erling Haaland emerging regarding his release clauses and his wages, and he's leaving in this year, and City won't be able to hold on to him, and blah. Listen, Haaland, he's going nowhere anytime soon, but we're going to keep talking about him. Jay Millsy says, scared for Sunday after Liverpool smashing Rangers tonight. We may touch on that too as well. Do you lads in the chat, 20 of you in the building, do you guys think Liverpool will take a massive confidence boost from smashing Glasgow Rangers? Listen, I have a massive soft spot for Glasgow Celtic. I'm an Irishman. I'm sure you can all understand that, why I like Glasgow Celtic. But I do also recognise the fact that because you batter a Rangers or a Celtic 7-1 does not necessarily mean that's going to translate into battering City, who are a completely different animal on Sunday afternoon. But will they take some confidence from it? I'm sure they will. I'm sure Salah will feel a bit better about himself, having scored a 6-minute hat-trick. You have to tip your hat to him a little bit, don't you? 6-minute hat-trick is pretty impressive. I'm sure Haaland will find a way to beat that somehow. Please, God. Tyrese, Haaland scoring 30 goals this season. Alex says, want us to slam those dippers. You're all getting very, very far ahead of yourselves. I told you, tomorrow, James Redmond, 5 p.m. UK time on this channel. Big collaboration, big preview. We're going to talk all about City and Liverpool, but I am also open to talking about maybe Liverpool's Champions League performance tonight. Tonight's stream, people, it's a relaxed one. It's a relaxed one with myself and Joe. We wanted to come on and have a general chat with you, chat about maybe Inter and Barcelona, Liverpool Rangers, talk about City Copenhagen, talk about Erling Haaland. You know I love talking about Haaland. Whatever you guys want to chat about, stick your thoughts in the chat below. I'll read them. We'll see what you're saying. We'll see what we're thinking. We'll get our thoughts in. This is a back and forth thing, people. This is a community. You get to have your say. We get to have our say. We have a debate. We have a chat. We have a laugh. We hug it out. That's what it's all about. Dr. Footy is sky blue. Gomez looked poor. He will be a decent player, but won't ever be City's number one. It was a weird one. It's a weird one. I think, Joe, maybe you want to give your thoughts on this as well. I think with Gomez, you have to remember he's a very unexperienced player at the very highest level. He's young too. He's up and coming, so he's going to be raw. He's going to make mistakes, Sergio Gomez, and for us to believe that, you know, you can bring in all these players and there's not going to be a few bumps along the way, a few minor blips like that, you're a bit naive. So I wouldn't be angry at the guy. Definitely in that moment you can kind of say, what was he thinking? But, you know, it's not the end of the world. It's really not the end of the world. Joe, I know we're going to get onto the Copenhagen game. We might as well address it now as someone's talking about it. The Gomez red card?
He's a deserved red card. I have no complaints. He's locked arms with the opposition attacker on the edge of the box, as he could be clean through on goal. I said this at the time. I said I'd rather be a goal down or like give away a penalty. If he gives away the penalty, he doesn't get sent off, and we still got 11 men. I'd rather be a goal down or give away a penalty and still have 11 men on the pitch than be a man down. I think the red card is just silly. He'll learn from it. I have no problems with him. I mean, we still ended up qualifying anyway, and to be honest, Copenhagen did nothing even when we were down to 10, so it didn't really cost us. It cost us more going forward, actually. But I'm sure he'll learn with it. He is young, inexperienced. I mean, listen, he's not a defender as in a typical defender. The man is playing as a left back, has played for the left back for the last year when he was at Anderlecht. But I mean, as people may or may not be aware, the man is an attacking midfielder. That's his natural position. That was his claim to fame. That was where he came through at, I believe it was Barcelona, and then Borussia Dortmund. And he plays right wing for his country. Well, the under-21s, Spain under-21s, plays right wing, so he's not really a defender. So I think that's just the main area where he's got to improve on. I think it's silly more than anything. Like, he hasn't done anything wild or rash. He hasn't cropped someone. It's a bit silly. It's soft, but it's a red card. But he'll learn from it. I'm not too bothered by it. I've seen a couple of people freaking out on Twitter. There's nothing to it for me. There's really nothing to it. Again, this is a learning experience. In the world of Pep Guardiola turning central midfielders into fullbacks, not everyone is a Zinchenko or a Fabian Delph. There will be teething issues, of course, but this is the exact reasoning why maybe we haven't seen him. Maybe that's why we haven't seen him more than we have done, because maybe Pep doesn't trust him defensively. I don't think he's been properly tested yet. When he came on against United, it was 4-0. The game was pretty much over. He hasn't really started a big game. Like, he's looked good when we've had him, but that's because we've had him on the pitch, but that's because we've been going forward. So, again, I think he's got work to do. I don't think he will ever be number one. I think that is an impossible task in this team with the quality that we have, but I'm not. I don't really care, to be honest, about the red card. It's almost more annoying that you can't play for the next games because we're already through. So this is a chance where we might have been able to see him more, but we're not going to get that chance now.
Who is it? Alec makes a good point in the chat. He says Vinny got red cards. He will learn. It's to be expected, people. It's to be expected. Like, I've been proud of the club in the way they've operated in the transfer market over the last 2 years, and I've been a big promoter and a big advocate for the way we've done our business, and we foresaw, it's something that Liverpool haven't done. We foresaw our aging squad and areas that we needed to improve on, and we started to massage the squad, if you like. We started to slowly improve it, bring in younger faces, get rid of some of the players that maybe we didn't feel suited us anymore. So, but what's to be expected when you do that process is the players need to learn. They need to adapt. And I'm a firm believer in allowing these new players like Gomez, who's still very young and raw. Raw is the word with Gomez I would use. And Alvarez. Alvarez is raw as well. You have to allow them to make mistakes. You have to allow them to fuck up, essentially. I mean, Kyle Walker's fucked up plenty of times over the years. John Stones has. I mean, all great defenders will pick up red cards and they learn from it. It's about how they learn and they bounce back. And I suppose it's not it wasn't a massive detriment on the actual game. It didn't affect us hugely, other than the fact that we couldn't have the same freedom moving forward, and probably wasn't great for Mahrez. I think the person who got the worst outcome in the whole situation is probably Riyad Mahrez. But listen, for Gomez, it's just disappointing that we won't get to see him. I think going out to Dortmund now in 2 weeks' time, I will be there. I can't wait. Dortmund away. It would have been a great experience for Gomez to play up against some very good players. The Dortmund have good attacking players, and likewise with the reverse fixture against Seville, Yeti had another great chance for him, because the more minutes we can get these players, Jay Millsy says Rico Lewis incoming talent. Likewise for Rico Lewis, Gomez, Alvarez, Phillips when he gets back. I know he's slightly older, but he's going to have to be treated like a young player, because he's going to have to be bedded in and whatnot. The more minutes we can get under these players' belts, the better as soon as possible. So just for Gomez's own personal progression, it's really not ideal, is it? It's not ideal. But Joe, Mahrez definitely came out the worst from this situation, didn't he? Because
God.
Rodri scored an absolute thunder bastard. That was one of the goals of the season by a country mile. It'll take a lot to top Rodri's goal against Copenhagen the other night. What an absolute fucking bullet. And then it's chalked off. It's chalked off for a alleged handball by Riyad Mahrez. Now, granted, I do accept that it did touch off the top of his hand, but people on Twitter have been posting the supposed official rules that for whatever loophole there is, I don't know the rules off the top of my head, that the goal should have stood. So Mahrez, you can argue, is at fault for Rodri's goal not standing. Then what happens, Joe? Mahrez goes and gets himself a penalty. He stands up. He is the club's official penalty taker. He's the first team's official penalty taker. I believe even if Erling Haaland hadn't been on the pitch, Riyad Mahrez still would have stepped up to take that penalty. That's clearly what Pep has decided. It's what the players have agreed. And he goes and he misses that. Now, what I will say about that penalty is I have an issue with the way he took that penalty. It's an appalling penalty, people. It's an absolutely appalling penalty. The only thing that could have made it worse was if he didn't hit the target. You know, you always say to a penalty taker, just hit the target. Anything from there, what will be, will be. But in terms of the way he struck it, it wasn't too far to the keeper's right, and it was the perfect height. It was a very unconfident penalty. It looked like an unconfident Riyad Mahrez. We know, people, you in the chat, who have watched Riyad Mahrez in the Champions League. I think against PSG, he took a great penalty, and we've seen him take great penalties before when he's absolutely flying and he's confident. He buries them top bins. He starts doing all sorts of mad shit that most players can't do. But when he's not confident, remember, he missed that one in Anfield a couple of years ago, didn't he, as well? That would have got us a 1-0 win, didn't he? Yep,
and the one against West Ham last season.
Yeah, these penalties are all when Mahrez is not looking confident. So for those two incidents, the chalked off Rodri goal, the missed penalty, and then Gomez, who took the red card, obviously deserved a red card, myself and Joe both agree. We have to bring on defensive backup. We have to bring on Ruben Diaz. I don't think Pep really wanted to bring on Diaz at all in that game. I think he wanted to rest him as much as possible for our game against Liverpool on Sunday. But his hand was forced. I mean, Copenhagen were a much more attacking threat on Tuesday night just gone than they were in the Etihad. Obviously, we thumped them 5-0 in the Etihad. But their crowd was raucous. The noise in that stadium was excellent. Beautiful looking stadium too, I must say, the Copenhagen stadium. They made great noise. They were well up for it. They wanted to get a result. They arguably deserved a result. I know we did great to hold out for a clean sheet and a draw. We're still unbeaten in all competitions, if you forget about that Community Shield game against Liverpool. But, you know, Pep's hand was forced. He had to bring on a defensive backup, so Mahrez was the player to take off. You see what I mean, Joe? Mahrez definitely came out the worst in the situation.
He came out the worst, but I mean, if you're going to take a player off in that situation, it's Mahrez who's playing. He was coasting along. And then he gets his one chance to make an impact on the game, and he goes and fucks it. Like, I'm sorry, people were saying he had two games. He had 2 good games, and when I say good, I use the term good loosely. He got involvements, and he looks better than he has been. And people were saying, "Oh, he's back. He's back." Fucking no, he wasn't back. Look what's happened now. People are saying he's been back, and now look at us. Now, turn around and look at the game. Is he back? No, he's still lacking so much confidence. Like. It's getting to the point now where it's. I'd rather see COPMCI. I'd rather see COPMCI on the right. COPMCI's been shoehorned in on the left just so he can get minutes, essentially. That's not his position. He'll probably never play there in his career at the top level. But he's playing there because Mahrez isn't in the team because he's not playing well. I'd rather COPMCI be taking that spot on the right than Mahrez. Because when COPMCI comes on for 20 minutes, he does more in 20 minutes than Mahrez does for an hour. Like, it's absolutely baffling. Right now, I don't know what's going wrong. Champions League Mahrez is non-existent. He had 2 games, those last 2 games before Copenhagen, where he was all right. He got involvements. It looked like he was beginning to get back. And then this happens. He goes and misses a penalty and gets taken off after half an hour. Like, it's just poor. I don't know what else to say. I mean, that front 3 that we saw yesterday against Copenhagen, like, it's the worst front 3 I think we could have put out. I think that is on paper the worst front 3 we could have put out. Like, when I saw that, I'm like, we're probably not going to score unless we get gifted something. And we got gifted the penalty. It wasn't a penalty. Again, the rules, no one understands the rules because the rules keep changing. The rules change every single year, so no one knows what it is. Like, the goal from Rodri stood a should because I'm getting my words mixed up now. It's actually... I don't know the rules either. Pep in his press conference after the game said he doesn't understand the rules either. It's different rules for different competitions. It's different rules every single year. Different ways to interpret rules. I don't understand. Every time the referee gets sent to the monitor, he's always overturning his decision. Like, what is the point then? If you're sending the referee to the monitor, then just overturn it then. Just save a bit of time. That's pointless. Like, it's just so frustrating. Rodri's goal should have stood. That should have stood. According to the rules, again, we got done over by this last year with the penalty that Real Madrid got at the Etihad, where the rules are, if it comes off another body part and then hits the hand, it's not a handball. But Real Madrid still got a penalty for it last year. Similar thing this year, where if it hits the hand of an attacking player, obviously not intentional, which it wasn't, Mahrez didn't move his hand to meet it, the ball just kind of fell on his hand. But if it hits the hand or the arm of an attacker, but that attacker doesn't score, it doesn't directly lead to a goal, which it didn't, it got passed around a couple of times before Rodri ended up just pinging it, then it should have stood. That's the rules. But you can blame I want to blame the referee because he got it wrong, but at the end of the day, I don't think they understand the rules because they just keep changing. Like, the rule book is ever changing. There's no black or white in football. This is the problem that I think a lot of people have with VAR, is there's no black or white. It's all opinionated. Every single decision in football is opinionated. Every single time there's a penalty being given, unless he's genuinely taking him out at knee height without getting the ball, that is a penalty. There's no argument, against that. But a lot of the times in football, when it comes to handballs and penalties, it is opinionated. If it's intentional, not intentional, whether it is a penalty or whether it is or isn't a penalty. Like, there are arguments in both sides each and every single time, which I think is the frustration, is that there is no right or wrong answer, which is why the refereeing is so inconsistent. And if we were a goal up when we went down to 10 men, I think we would have held on. I think that we did really well to hold them out, to be honest. When we went down to 10 men, I thought that Copenhagen did actually very little against 10 men. But the fact of the matter is, we didn't win the game. We're still through, so it doesn't really matter. We didn't win the game. But yet again, I'm found just scratching my head at the fact that Mahrez is, like, people are saying that he's back and that he might be, some people are saying that he might even start against Liverpool. No, I don't want that. Not at all. No. I don't even want him coming off the bench. Not a chance. I don't want that.
No. No, you're spot on. You're spot on. And I did have a fear that even if Mahrez played well against Copenhagen on Tuesday, that Pep will give him the nod for Sunday. And I was of the mindset before the Copenhagen game, when I saw the team sheet, that no matter how Mahrez plays, Foden has to play on the right against Liverpool. I've said it for weeks, people. Those of you who've been tuning into us now for a number of weeks, I've said Grealish, Haaland, Foden, it's our best front three. You're spot on when you said that the front three that Pep fielded against Copenhagen is the worst front three we possibly could. You're absolutely right, not because the three of them individually are bad players. The three of them individually, Alvarez, Mahrez and Grealish, are actually all great players on their day. They just don't work well together. We know, having watched Grealish and Mahrez play together before, they don't operate well together when one of them is on either wing. They both cut in, they both cancel each other out, and they don't offer anything different to each other. You need one winger who will take on the fullback, go to the byline, do something different. Foden does that. Grealish is now starting to invert towards the middle of the pitch and make surging runs. We know he likes to cut in on his right foot. Mahrez and Grealish, they just cancel each other out, and that made life very difficult for Alvarez, because it became very congested for him. It was very limited amount of decent service was coming his way. I think, dare I say it, even if Haaland played against Copenhagen on Tuesday, he would have struggled. I mean, I know there's more of a chance Haaland's going to score because he's more likely to score a quarter chance than Julian Alvarez is right now. But it was just the supply line and the two wingers made life difficult for Alvarez, and I felt for him. I really felt for Julian Alvarez, because this was obviously a big opportunity for him. I think it was his first start, maybe, other than he's had one other start. Did he start against Nottingham Forest? Yeah, so it was his first real start, where it was his own. He got to do his thing. He was the main man leading the line, and I just went tits up for him. And it's not something you need to take too seriously. I said the same about Gomez, and I'll say the same about Alvarez. He's also raw. We know the talent and qualities Alvarez has. We've all looked at the compilations. We've all seen his statistics for both River Plate, for Argentina, and we've seen him score goals now for City. We know what he can offer, but you have to be patient with him. We've been absolutely spoilt with the big man. We've been spoiled with Erling Haaland in the sense that he's just hit the ground running. In fact, he's not even hit the ground running. He's smashed the ground running. And now it's a bit unfair to suggest that Alvarez can do the same. We're going to have to allow Alvarez to go through a semi-Grealish process. Hopefully not as long as the Grealish process, but a similar process that Pep will mould Alvarez and help Alvarez and develop him. Alvarez will get used to playing with the players around him, understand the players around him. And that's just football, people. Not every player is going to hit the ground running the way Erling Haaland did. But you're absolutely spot on. That front three, obviously all three got very low ratings. Joe does these ratings. As always, people, if you don't agree with the ratings, give him the stick. Give him the stick, because I don't have anything to do with these ratings.
I love it. I love it. Shout at me, please.
Give Joe the stick, because he does the player ratings. But as you can see, I actually agree with him for the front three anyway. I haven't really looked at the rest of them. But 6-6-5, I think they're spot on, because the three of them didn't play well. And it's not, I don't think it's through much fault of their own. I think Mahrez was unfortunate. Now, he was unfortunate in the sense that the Rodri goal should have stood. We agree on that. And he was unfortunate that the Gomez red card ultimately meant he was going to be pulled to bring on Ruben Diaz. The penalty, he has to just hold his hands up and say it's a brutal penalty. But these things happen, people. You miss penalties. That's football. You can't score a penalty. Not every penalty is going to be in the top bins. But listen, in terms of looking to Sunday, I don't want Mahrez anywhere near that pitch. I'd rather, in a way, I'd actually rather Cole Palmer to be the backup for Phil Foden on Sunday. If Phil Foden has to come off, I'd actually genuinely rather Cole Palmer, because having watched Cole Palmer now, and I want you to speak on him in a second, Joe, and everybody in the chat, give me your thoughts on Cole Palmer. He's an extremely tricky player, right? He's not a one-trick pony. Sorry, excuse me. A lot of people were convinced for a long time that Cole Palmer was a one-trick pony. They believed he'd only cut in on his left foot and he didn't have a huge amount to his game. Now I think I'm seeing a mold in Cole Palmer. There's like a hybrid. Cole Palmer is so clearly watching some of the other wide players in training, your Cancelos, your Grealishes, your Fodens, your Bernardos even, and he's taking bits of their games and implementing it into his own. We're seeing like Cole Palmer run down the wing, look like he's about to cut in, and then he'll do like an almost signature Cancelo sort of pullback and drop the shoulder and go down to the byline. Like, Cole Palmer is an extremely diverse player with a lot of tools in his toolbox, if you like. He's got a lot to his game, possibly more so than Riyad Mahrez, who we know essentially is the one-trick pony who cuts in on his left foot. So listen, for Cole Palmer, he's someone that I would like to see get the nod more, especially if Mahrez is, up and down performances continue. I know I'm not going to slate Mahrez too much because he actually has played quite decent in recent weeks, but it's been up and down this season. And when Cole Palmer has ever come on, granted it's been in situations where the game has won, he's looked pretty fucking good, Joe.
But he's looked unbelievable at times. Like, it's unfortunate that I don't think he's scored yet, really. Like, he's coming on for 20 minutes. And again, I said this when I was talking about Mahrez. He's coming on for 20 minutes and he's doing the same that Mahrez has done for the rest of the game that Mahrez has been on for. Like, it's wild to me that Palmer is, I thought Palmer would be the Mahrez replacement, the one-trick pony, the guy who's got a wand of a left foot but doesn't really use his right foot and is a bit one-dimensional, but that's not the case. It's really weird. It's actually baffling as to how he's good at what he's good at, considering his physical attributes. Like, he's 6 foot, 6'1", might be even 6'2". He's very tall, very lanky. He's deceptively quick for a player who you'd probably regard as being more technically gifted. But again, he's not afraid to try and beat his man. He's not afraid to go to the byline and try things, which means I would say, would probably work with Grealish because he's willing to go and try and beat his man. I think that's a perk of a young player. A young player knows, especially in a City team where there's so much quality, they know that they're not going to get many opportunities. So when they have the opportunity given to them, they have to take it. They have to do something that, makes them stand out. Even if they get 10, 20 minutes, they have to do something that makes them stand out from the rest of the players, which is, I think, a contributing factor as to why he looks more dangerous than Mahrez, because Mahrez already knows that even if he's playing poor, he's still going to get opportunities to start games just because he's Riyad Mahrez. Look what he's done in the past and look how good he can be. With Cole Palmer, he's not going to be afforded that opportunity to just start games just because of, it's Cole Palmer. Like, he's not got to do that. He's got to prove that he deserves these minutes. So when he comes on for 20 minutes, he's always trying things, which is something that, especially you've streamed in the past for Mahrez to just try and use his right foot at least a couple times every single game. And when he started doing that, he's looked at his best, when he stopped being that one-trick pony and he started using his right foot a little bit, even if it's just, chop inside his man and fire it across the 6-yard box with his right foot. Like, he's looked so much better. It's worked a lot more. It's given the fullback a lot more to worry about, because right now the fullback's going, oh yeah, he's either going to pass it backwards or go inside me. He knows that he's not getting past the fullback. The fullback knows that Mahrez is not going to get past him at the moment, which is something that Cole Palmer's trying to do, which is, again, I want to see more. I want to see more from Cole Palmer. I know we won't, because that's what Pep does with these young players. He gives them like no minutes unless the game's already won and the intensity's dropped, and he can just kind of ease them in a little bit there. But I don't know, man. I think he'd do more than Mahrez at this current moment in time. Mahrez has got a lot of work to do, because it's more bad than good. It's more bad than good, and it's hurting the team. We could have effectively sealed first place had we won, but them's the breaks, aren't they? It just wasn't his day. But yeah, I think right now Mahrez, for me, if it was me, I am not Pep, so I don't have say over this, but if it was me, Mahrez is 4th choice right winger. He's behind Foden. I'd play Bernardo Silva there before I play Mahrez, and I'd play Cole Palmer there before Mahrez. Right now, given form, Mahrez for me would be 4th choice, which is mental considering he's our top scorer last season.
I appreciate massively the fact that with young players like Cole Palmer, you do have to nourish them. You do have to, be careful that you don't overexpose them, because then they start making mistakes and you can damage their confidence. They're young, they're only developing their character, they're only developing their mentality and their maturity, essentially. But you have to also, pay acknowledgement to what you see, in terms of what actually is going on in front of you with your eyes. What you see with Cole Palmer is genuinely fantastic stuff. And something that we're noticing with Palmer is he does have a lot of maturity, and he's an extremely confident player. The fact that he's doing some of the things he's doing on the pitch, like those kind of signature Cancelo, the one I'm on about, Joe, where Cancelo will feint to go one way, drop the shoulder and go the other way. You don't see Mahrez doing that. And as the more experienced winger, who has played in countless high intensity, high pressure situation matches, Mahrez should know when to do these certain things and have more things in his toolbox than he does. And listen, I love Riyad Mahrez. Don't take this, people, as me sitting here slating Riyad Mahrez. I do, but we also have to pay homage and acknowledge how good Cole Palmer has been. And the fact that he's doing those things means he's a confident player. He backs his ability, he backs himself, and I still go back to the point that you have to be careful and really manage how often you play Cole Palmer because of his age and his lack of experience. But what I would say about Cole Palmer is, whether he does, get the nod if needs be against Liverpool at some point on Sunday, that's one thing. But for him personally, I would be knocking on Pep's door, and I'd be banging on Pep's door saying, that Chelsea Carabao Cup game, I want at least 45 minutes. Give me the opportunity, boss. I think something about this season that we might come to find is that, I hope anyway, is that maybe, I don't like to say these things, but maybe don't put too much emphasis on the Carabao and the FA Cup. Obviously, go out to win every single game and manage that game when you're going through it. But prioritize the Premier League and the Champions League. Just try it and see what happens. Maybe we'll actually win the Champions League. Who knows? But for that game, I'd be saying to Pep, if I was Cole Palmer, come on, boss, just give me the chance. Give me 45 minutes. Give me a start. Give me something where I can, show a prolonged, show of what I can do, essentially, and not just come on when the game is won. And I wouldn't put it past Pep to do that. I think Pep is probably looking towards that game for Cole Palmer against Chelsea to give him a real opportunity, and he deserves it, because like myself and Joe both agree, and I can see a lot of you in the chat saying it. Dennis says it. I've seen Alex saying it. There's a lot of players talking about Cole Palmer. A lot of people talking about Cole Palmer. He deserves it. He deserves the opportunity to play in one of these games where it's competitive and it's not just City or 4-0 up. So you're going to get a run at it. Maybe Rico Lewis too. Listen, there's just under 40 people in the building. If you would all do me a massive favor and get the likes up, people. Come on, get the likes up. Smash the like button. Get it up to 35 odd likes. See what we can do. Get more people in here. Smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. All that good stuff. We're on the road to 4K. Let me see what some people are saying. I've seen a lot of messages come in. A lot of interesting topics too as well. Stacey, good to see you, Stacey. She says, It was just not our night on Wednesday. I don't like Grealish and Mahrez together. It just doesn't work. Felt sorry for Alvarez getting no service. Exactly, Stacey. That's kind of what myself and Joe were saying. Grealish and Mahrez cancel each other out. They both don't have enough creativity or flair, if you like. Grealish is starting to become that direct, aggressive runner that we wanted him to be the whole time. But for Grealish to do that, you need a Foden. You need a Foden out in the other wing who will offer a completely different outlet, which unfortunately Riyad Mahrez doesn't. He never did, Riyad Mahrez. It's not a case of all of a sudden Riyad Mahrez is looking like this. He never did, but he'd always have a Sterling on the far side, or a Sane on the far side, or maybe even a Foden on the far side. Foden and Mahrez was never the worst pairing either, so it just doesn't work, and that's why you have to feel sorry for Alvarez. I mean, if we had a situation whereby, I know it's all if, buts and maybes now in hindsight, it's a beautiful thing, but say Gomez was never sent off, Grealish was on the left, and Foden was on the right with Alvarez through the middle, you could have seen a completely different Julian Alvarez, much more opportunity, he'd get to be more clinical, and you might have seen a completely different version altogether. Unfortunately for Alvarez, he was suffocated out of the game by red cards and poor performances from Riyad Mahrez. So don't take the Alvarez thing too seriously. I imagine that Chelsea Carabao Cup game I'm on about for Cole Palmer is another one that Julian Alvarez will look towards. If I was Alvarez, I'd be saying to Pep, please give me that opportunity ahead of Erling, essentially. I don't think that Carabao Cup game is a game that we need to play Erling Haaland, have him on the bench if we actually go 1-0 behind or we're chasing a goal in the last half an hour. Yeah, you can bring on Haaland and maybe play a two up top or take off Alvarez, but it's definitely one where I would give Alvarez the nod. I'd say you are starting, show the faith in Alvarez, say this is your game, you lead the line, you've got two decent wingers beside of you, hopefully Palmer and maybe Grealish or something like that. It's a big opportunity in that Carabao game. I'm looking forward to that game. I know there's a lot to happen between now and then, but I'm looking forward to that game because hopefully it'll give us a insight and give us some of these, fringe of the first team players like your Palmers and Alvarez and maybe Gomez by then too. It'll give them a proper opportunity. We'll get to see what they're really about. And from minute one, a competitive game. The game's not won kind of thing. I think UEFA don't like us for many years. Listen, that game against Copenhagen was a difficult watch for many reasons. Obviously, as a City fan, you don't want to see players getting sent off. You don't want to see your goals getting disallowed. The ref had to go to the screen 3 times to double check his decisions, and that just slows down the game. It felt at one point like he was looking at the screen more than he was looking at the game, and you're kind of going, fuck's sake. And it just goes back to what Joe said. There's no black and white answer in these situations where is it a handball, is it not? We can't all refer to a book of codes, a book of law if you like, and be like, no, it says this is a handball, so that can't be a handball, or it says this is a handball, so that is a handball. We can't refer to that and use that and be like, there's a definite answer here. It's genuinely just what the referee sees on the screen. He's the man who decides. It's actually subjective as to what each individual thinks, and we all know as well that if the ref goes to the screen, the chances are he's going to overturn whatever his on-field decision was. So it's taken away from the game massively. I know there's been a lot of very controversial VAR decisions over the last 7 days or so. It's something that the game is. There's going to have to be tweaks made to that VAR system, the handball rule. It's going to have to become more black and white, as Joe said. They're going to have to just make it crystal clear so that the viewer, the spectator, the ref, the players, everybody knows what is a handball, what is deserving of a penalty, etc., etc. It's just not straightforward enough, and it's really damaging the game. Now, did we deserve to win that game on Tuesday night? Still no, absolutely not. We did not play to our best. Well, we've been talking a lot recently, Joe, haven't we, about how we never got into top gear, we never got out of first gear kind of thing. We didn't against Copenhagen, and it made it a fair game. We've been beating teams recently having not got out of first gear, but the fact that we went down to 10 players and not getting out of first gear, that has to be a massive contribution as to why it became essentially a fair game.
Well, you'd say fair based on the scoreline. I think there was absolutely nothing that happened. I can't think of a highlight apart from the madness that happened leading up to the red card and the red card. I mean, listen, I'm all for Copenhagen, probably even against 10 men, being happy to sit there and take a point against us, considering they were probably expecting to get hammered again. But listen, come on. I've seen this in my country when we play football. Sometimes it genuinely takes something to get them going. Like, we were down to 10 men and they still sat there in a 5-4-1. Like, there was no intention for Copenhagen to really go for the game against 10 men. They sat there with a back 5 still. It was so boring. They were clearly just happy not to be embarrassed. Even if it was against 10, they were clearly just happy. If it was a smash and grab, it was a smash and grab. They barely threatened. Barely. I expected a lot more from them. I expected it to be a tougher game, to be honest. I was thinking to myself, we might be lucky to get a point out of this. I think, again, the red card just completely neutralises the game. Again, it's a deserved red card, but, it turns it into such a nothing game. It was just such a waste of time because the outcome had little effect on anything really. Like, if we would have lost, we go and beat Dortmund, we can still go and top the group. Like, so us losing wasn't even like a massive thing. It was just so boring. And at the end of the day, I'm just glad that it's over now and we don't have to go through this against Copenhagen again, because games like this in the Champions League are no fun. You want to watch the Champions League in midweek because you want to be entertained. You want to watch the best go up against the best. And no disrespect to Copenhagen, but they are far from the best. Like, it is painful viewing. It's not fun to watch us in first gear and go and win 5-0. It's not fun at all. And it's even worse when we're not getting out of first gear down to 10 men and it ends 0-0. That's the only thing that could have been worse. So at the end of the day, I'm just happy it's over because that was absolutely dreadful to watch. And again, I'm just looking forward to getting this group finished. Even if we finish second, I don't care. I'm not really that bothered now. Champions League for me until the new year, it's done. We're qualified. I don't care anymore. Focus on the Premier League. We've still got a bit of a gap to Arsenal. Just focus on other things. Like, it's so pointless. Like, there was so much to talk about, but so little to talk about at the same time. I thought, again, we did really well to hold on and keep them out. But Copenhagen, I was expecting them to go for the game, and they didn't. Like, that's the most disappointing thing. I was expecting to, Copenhagen to start firing shots and trying to actually go on and win the game, but they didn't. Like, I don't know. It's the Champions League, because sometimes it never fails to amaze you.
Like, you're right. As far as this competition is concerned, or this stage of the competition, I don't really care anymore. I'm going to Dortmund away, knowing that we've qualified. There's no real pressure on the fixture. I'm going for a piss up in Germany. With City fans. That's essentially what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm gonna have a laugh in Germany, watch some City ball, experience Dortmund and their cool stadium and all that kind of thing. But in terms of the Copenhagen game, once again, had that been a Premier League game, I would have been screaming at my television. I would have been screaming, saying the red card, what the fuck are you doing? The penalty miss, what the fuck are you doing? But when I got to the point where I was like, you know what, this actually isn't it's not a massive deal. I was at the point where I was just like, it'd be great if we could keep our unbeaten run intact. If we could just stay unbeaten in all competitions, that would be great. And that's what we got out of it. So I didn't lose much sleep. I didn't sweat too much over the poor performance. I just hope that, we can raise it substantially against Liverpool. I mean, I know Liverpool are going through a pretty bad form right now. I know that they thumped Rangers tonight, guaranteed, but listen, as I'm sure many of you have seen the stat, Liverpool have scored over 50% of their goals this season against Bournemouth and Rangers. They're not exactly a team in flying form. But on the flip side, you best believe when City come to town, Liverpool in Anfield will raise the roof. They will absolutely raise their levels. Regardless of who they're missing, they will raise it. So we will have to raise it. We will have to match their level, match their intensity. And unfortunately with Anfield, so many times over the years we've gone there and we've been like rabbits in headlights. We've froze. Like that time Mahrez missed the penalty, we froze. We've been the better team than them so many times and absolutely froze. So we're going to have to raise the intensity. There's going to need to be a reaction. Don't take the Copenhagen thing too seriously, and we'll move on to Liverpool. Like I said, just a couple of things before we keep chatting. People, there's over 50 people in the building for the first time in a while. Over 50 of you here. That's absolutely fantastic to see. Thank you all so much for coming in. Smash the like button, people. Get the likes up. 50 of you in here. Let's get the likes up to 40, 45. Smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel, of course, if you're new as well. We're on the road to 4,000 subscribers. 4,000 blues in one community. You wouldn't believe it. And then, of course, the last piece of housekeeping is tomorrow at 5 o'clock UK and Ireland time. Massive preview. Choked on my own words there. Massive preview with the one and only James Redmond. He's the best player in the world. I'm being serious. James Redmond joins us tomorrow at 5 o'clock for a City versus Liverpool preview. You best believe it's going to be a funny one. It's going to be entertaining. We're going to chat about the ins and outs of that fixture, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm very honoured that James has agreed to come onto the channel. He's a big creator. I look up to James. I respect what he's achieved. So for him to give us his time is massive. So I hope all of you people can come in tomorrow at 5 o'clock and then sit down, get yourself a cup of tea, get yourself a few digestives, watch the stream and get involved in the chat. Say your piece, because we're going to have a few debates. We're going to do a combined 11. There's a lot to look forward to. City versus Liverpool, absolutely massive fixture. Let's see what the people are saying. Letabo, good to see you, Letabo, my friend. Could have been worse. Remember that tap-in they missed. So yeah, man, not happy by City standards, but I'll take the point. You know what? I do agree with you, Joe, that they didn't offer a huge amount going forward, but what's that fella's name on the left? Mohamed Jarabi? He's a good player.
I'm not a clue, mate. Honestly, I don't. I don't know.
Can someone in the chat tell me what his name was? Darabi, it was Mohammed Darabi or Drabi. I don't know if I'm pronouncing the second name right. He was a player. He was actually a good player. He was good against us in the first leg as well. And I think their best player, Joe, we have to give credit to Copenhagen. The best player on the pitch was Batman and Nets, the goalkeeper. This guy was absolutely
Batman.
He was sick. The Copenhagen keeper was sick. It could have been 10-0 in the Etihad the week before, and he made a few big saves, including the penalty save, of course, on Tuesday.
Mohamed Darami. Listen,
Darami. Thank you, Dennis. Yeah. Dennis says Darami.
Now that you mention it, he probably was the only player. But I mean, again, they still offered nothing. But Batman, he's back. Came with a vengeance.
That's it.
Jenny, I don't know what the keeper was on during these two games. He needs a drug test or something. Because my word, even if like we've been down to 10 men and we still did pretty much nothing, like he still matched it. Even if we didn't do that much, he still matched it in the second game. But in the first game, should have been 10. Like I don't know. Like I'm surprised because I don't know who he is, but I know their sub goalkeeper. Like I know who was on the bench for them. So if he's benching Matt Ryan, who I know I've watched him play football before, then he must be half decent. But oh my god, he deserves his pay. He deserves double pay for over those games. Because my word, like, listen, like, it's hard to really pick a man of the match for that game yesterday because there was just nothing.
Who did you go with for our man of the match?
Akanji, because he's good.
Yeah. Sorry, go on what you're saying, but we have to pick up Akanji in a few minutes.
Man can defend well. Akanji was, I always give the City man a match, but in terms of, I know Rodri got the Champions League man of the match. He got the little trophy, but their goalkeeper, like, I'm surprised he didn't get, something because, again, like, the amount of saves he made in the first game, and again, we didn't do much, but what we did do, he still got to it. He still made saves. He saved the penalty. Like, he still saved the penalty. Like, he still guessed the right, even though it was a dreadful penalty, he still saved it. So I'm surprised he wasn't given man of the match, to be fair. But listen, we don't have to face him again, so we don't have to be scared of Batman.
We're going to talk about Akanji in a second, people. We have to have a conversation about this guy. I posted a tweet about him as well. For those of you who follow me on Twitter, at HughMurray1894, you'll know that I love this guy. I think he's great. I'm going to see people are saying yes, Darami. Dennis thinks that Darami might be on loan from Ajax. If he's a loan player at Copenhagen, they've got a serious player on their hands. And if I was Ajax, I'd be looking for him back at some point because he was, other than the Copenhagen goalkeeper, Darami was their best player over the two legs. Second City Saint says, we're going to make a statement this Sunday. Every time we went to Anfield over the past several years, we missed so many big chances. Think of Aguero in the 3-1 defeat. Yeah, absolutely. Haaland is very clinical. It's another test for Haaland, isn't it? And I don't want to keep dipping into the Liverpool game too much, obviously, because we've got a massive stream coming up tomorrow with James, kind of an opposition style fan preview and a combined 11, and then we've got another stream on Friday night at 10:30 with Daps. Many of you will know Daps. He's going to come onto the channel on a Friday night, and we'll do a very City orientated one. And there's loads of previews, loads of content, so I don't want to dip into it too much, but I'll touch on it quickly. This is another massive test for Haaland. We know he definitely passed the United test with flying colours. He passed the Butcher test with flying colours. So just hopefully he can pass the Van Dijk test, if you like, there, without Matip, of course, as well. So it'll be interesting to see how Haaland does against Virgil van Dijk. Can City finish Van Dijk's unbeaten record at Anfield? I think if anybody's going to put that nail in the coffin, it's going to be Erling Haaland, isn't it? Do you know who Jonathan Morley is? Of course I know who Jonathan Morley is. I've seen his TikToks, Dennis. Don't you worry about that. Alec, felt our players weren't too bothered about Copenhagen game. You know what, Alec, there probably is an element of that. Like, they're only human. I'm sure they realised that qualification is there. They didn't need to break too much of a sweat, so there was no point in smashing yourself into 50-50 challenges, risking injury and that kind of thing. They played out the game very smartly. They used their brains, they used their competency, if you like, and they played out and held on for the clean sheet and took the point away from Copenhagen. It was a good point for us, it was a good point for them. I think it's probably a fair result. You could argue that Copenhagen, maybe just for the tenacity they went in with, might have deserved it a teeny bit more, but we control the game. We showed our experience, we showed our composure, and that's all you can really ask for, isn't it? Akanji was very good in their, including their goalie. Akanji and Cancelo are the first two names in the team sheet in defence. I think you're probably right at this point, Rustbeard. I watched Akanji in replays. He's very safe. Jonah Anthony, good to see you, my friend. It says, am I the only one who thought Diaz was our best player yesterday? I thought Diaz came on and did exactly what you want Diaz to do, Joe, which is just add stability. You know, when we went down to 10 men, obviously, you know, there's going to be gaps in the pitch and the players will become a little bit flustered because they've got more running to do. So an experienced leader like Ruben Diaz, you just want him to come on, add stability, calm down the situation, you know, add composure, because that's what he did. And Rodri, I saw someone in the chat there bigging up Rodri. He was an absolute man on a mission. I think he probably will go underappreciated because we didn't win the game, but Rodri was an absolute soldier against Copenhagen. He dropped into centre half many times to clear up some attacks there, covering space. He covered a huge amount of ground. Rodri was a silent operator. I think our defence has to get massive plaudits for their performance against Copenhagen on Tuesday there, because they are solely the reason why we didn't lose the game, because our attack was offering essentially nothing. I mean, when Bernardo and Foden both came on, they offered something. Had they been on the pitch from the start, I think even with 10 men, with Bernardo and Foden, we would have won the game. But it wasn't to be, and I'm glad they didn't play from the start, because they're going to be fresh for Sunday. Like you said there, someone, Rust, Akanji and Cancelo, first two names in defence. The first three names in attack are Bernardo, Foden, and Haaland. You know, they're absolutely pivotal that they're fit and fresh. Haaland didn't play against Copenhagen. We're going to talk about Haaland as well. But listen, I said we were going to talk about Akanji. I want to talk about Akanji. I had my doubts over this guy. I can't even lie. I had my doubts. Obviously, you will do, naturally. 15 million. He's 27. Why hasn't he played at the highest level before this? Was he just a panic buy to get some cover in? And then, listen, the more I watch this guy, the more excellent I think he is. He's fast. He's composed. He times the challenges perfectly. He's actually fantastically spatially aware. He really reads the game well. He knows when to lunge in. He knows when to hold off and shepherd or shield the player out to away from goal kind of thing. Akanji's a really intelligent centre half, and we said when he was first announced that this guy will understand his role when he first comes to the club. He'll understand his initial role is not to be a starting centre half. You've come in as cover for our current centre halves who are always injured. We have an ongoing centre half injury crisis. Akanji was to come in and provide cover. Through performances and through consistent good performances, Joe, Akanji is forcing his way, and probably has forced his way, into one of those jerseys for centre half, even if they're all fit right now.
He's forced himself straight into playing right back at Anfield. Like, that is his position. The man's going to be playing he was a flying right wing back against Copenhagen. Like, we ended up playing a 5 with Rodri basically played as a centre half, and Akanji was playing as a right wing back, and he genuinely started bombing forward, and I didn't know what I was seeing, but I very much enjoyed it. There was that little sort of panic stations moment, wasn't there, when he took that injury to his shoulder where someone jams into his elbow and it kind of jolts his shoulder up, and I thought he might have dislocated it, and I was genuinely worried, because if he was out for Liverpool, I would be terrified right now, because he's probably our best defender on form. So I would be absolutely terrified if he was to miss that. But luckily he carried on. It was all right. It's fine. Panic over. Again, another man of the match performance. Like, it's weird really, isn't it? Because he cost 15 million and everyone kind of just, they didn't write him off necessarily, but they kind of went, yeah, mate, you're here to just do a job for a few months, and then when we get people back fit, you know, you're supposed to hold the bench. That is your role. But man, he's not holding the bench, is he? Like, he's starting week in, week out. He's starting out of position still. Which, again, like, he's going to get these opportunities to start at right back because he's proved that he can do it. Of course, he hasn't had a massive test at right back. What was the game before Copenhagen where we played right back when we played that 3? Who was it? Southampton. Southampton, he played at right back. So he hasn't had that big test. Like, he hasn't had a Liverpool. You know, how people were saying United was his big test. To see whether he could hack it at this level, and he passed it. He was at centre half, so can he hack it at right back? He's got the speed, he's got the physicality, and for the most part, from what I've seen, he looks like he can read the game as well. It's a really, really odd combination. The man's got everything you want in a centre half, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I think he has to start. He's like one of the first. I think he's even more of a first name on the team sheet than Cancelo at the moment. Like, he's so consistent. Cancelo's had a couple of subpar games. He's upped it a little bit recently, but I think, you know, the versatility. Pep loves a versatile player. Kanji playing centre half, playing right back, essentially. Like, he gives us stability. He's able to play with the ball, which is something that I didn't think he was that good on the ball. But again, like, he has to play against Anfield. I don't know who's going to start on the left for Liverpool, because I have no idea who's fit or fit enough. I know Luis Diaz is injured, so I imagine it'll probably be Jota, but I reckon he could get the better of him, because, you know, Jota he's weird, really, isn't he? He's not the most tricky of players for Liverpool. I would have been much fearing, be fearing much more for Luis Diaz, but of course he's out, so Akanji, I'm expecting another good game at Anfield, but that's probably his big test. Wherever Akanji plays, that is the big test for him. How does he cope in that sort of game? Because even though, we like to take the piss off of Liverpool, don't we, with their famous atmosphere where they sing for 5 minutes and go silent. Everyone loves to shout at that famous Anfield atmosphere, but that first 5-10 minutes can throw you off your game. It happens wherever you go when you go away from home. You want to get in the ball in the first 10 minutes and just quieten it down so you can play your game. And listen, Akanji, I'm starting to love the guy. I was resident Akanji hater when he first came, wasn't I? I was the guy who was saying, 4th, 5th choice. He's not going to be that good. I was the hater, wasn't I? I was the resident player hater. Now look at me. Listen,
you're a miserable bastard, Joe. You're just a miserable bastard.
Listen, I can change my mind. I'm not absolutely brainless. I've shouted at De Bruyne enough. I had to move on to someone else for like a couple of weeks, and now I've moved on to Mahrez, so it's all right.
Listen, I want to say a few little things, people. There was just under 60 people. There was 60 people with us just a second ago. We're just under 60 people in the building right now, and we're only on 35 likes. Come on, people. If you haven't already done so, hit the like button. Get it up to at least 40, 45. And we're one subscriber of 3.8k, which will then bring us to just 200 away from 4k. Who's going to be the 3,800 subscriber of the 1894 community? If you are that person, say it in the chat and I'll give you a shout out. And of course, keep getting the likes up, people. We can definitely hit 40, 50 likes with 60 people in here. Why not? What was I going to say there? Yeah, listen, Akanji, another thing on Akanji that I love about him is we're learning about his mentality. Obviously, like I said, we knew that he knew his role when he came in, and you were probably rightly so in some way to be like, he's just going to be there to do a job. You're just there to provide cover. But I love his mentality in the way that he's like, no, I'm not accepting that role. I've taken this role to get my foot in the door, just to psych you, catch you all out, get me a contract, get me in the club. And now he's like, nah, I'm starting this team. I'm going to show what I can do, and it's going to be a big test for him. Can someone remind me in the chat, was it Carvalho who played left wing for Liverpool tonight?
Yes, they played a 4-4-2, which Liverpool playing 4-4-2, it's just so odd, but it was Carvalho. Jota was on the bench, so they saved a load of players, didn't they? Cancelo was on the bench and all.
Yeah, so it's gonna whoever Liverpool put on the left wing on Sunday, you guarantee it's gonna be a good player. So it's another big test for Akanji. He was great against United. He's been great every time we've seen him so far. You can't complain about Manuel Akanji. I'm very happy with how he's doing. Let's see what the people are saying. I'm gonna read what you people are saying now. We'll have a bit of a conversation. I see a lot of praise for Akanji. I'm glad to see that, people. He deserves the praise. Someone asked me my thoughts on Ake. He's been excellent as well when called upon. We're so blessed right now, people, that there's not one player in the squad you would say right now is below City standard, or they're just not good enough. They're not quite at the level. They're not quite the cut of the team. We've had players in the past where they've definitely at least gone through phases. There was question marks over Zinchenko for a long time. I know we love Zinchenko now, and he turned out to be a fantastic servant to the club. But if you remember and go back far enough, people were saying, is this kid actually City standard? We can't say that about anybody in the squad right now. There's great backup, there's great depth, we have a great squad. So Ake, Akanji, fantastic players to have when Diaz, Stones and Laporte are injured. Akanji, like I said, he's going to be pushing for one of those starting places. Thoughts on Cancelo versus Salah? Oh, do I want to keep dipping into this Liverpool game? I know, like I said, people, we've got a massive preview coming up tomorrow, 5 p.m. UK time. James Redmond, the man, the myth, the legend, Sadio Mane. I love that quote, man. I love that interview he did. He's the best player in the world. James Redmond joining us at 5 p.m. UK time tomorrow for a massive City versus Liverpool preview. We'll do a combined 11. We'll have all the debates. I'll ask him the serious questions. I'll ask him why aren't Liverpool playing well? Why are they only 2 wins in the Premier League at the minute? And all these kind of things. So do stay tuned for that. Tune in tomorrow at 5 o'clock if you want to see my conversation with James Redmond. How many players has Pep signed we never heard of and are now world class under him? Alec, you're spot on. And Joe will know this is a drum I've been banging for a long time, is that Pep, yes, he has financial resources that not a huge amount of, or really many other managers in the world have right now. But what he is fantastic at is identifying players around the world that he thinks have potential to become what he wants. And they're good players where they are. Cancelo, Gundogan, Bernardo, Kyle Walker, all these players, John Stones, Ruben Diaz, like the list goes on. Very good players where they came from. I'm not going to sit here and say they were bums, they were nobodies, they were crap before they came to City. They were good players. Pep brings them in, gives them a bit of time, nourishes them, massages them, feeds them, gives them drink, says welcome, settle in nicely. This is how we're going to play football, and you're going to have a big role here. Bang! They become world-class players. I said it on a stream. I don't know if it was on my channel here or if it was on another channel, but I said it recently that I believe Cancelo is at the minute the best fullback in the world. Why? Because I don't think there is many complete fullbacks in the world. When I say that, I mean fantastic in attack, fantastic in defense. I don't think there is many. I think Reece James might have the best balance struck, but in terms of current form and impact on the game, I think we have to have a conversation about João Cancelo. I think he's the best in the world. And when we're speaking about someone, Rust says Cancelo versus Salah, I'll touch on it. How do we feel about that? Before tonight, I would have said, you know what, I fancy Cancelo to do a perfectly good job on Salah, and whatever centre half plays beside Cancelo to cover the space well. Even if Salah hadn't scored that 6-minute hat-trick tonight, you can still be rest assured he'll up his game against City, and he'll be hungry, and naturally all the Liverpool players' levels of performances will rise against Manchester City. But you know what, with Salah scoring 3 goals tonight in 6 minutes, whether you like to agree with it or not, his own confidence is going to be improved. By how much? I don't know. Does that mean he's going to be world-class Salah again on Sunday? That all remains to be seen. But in terms of Cancelo, the point I was making, and I want you to maybe say your thoughts, is I think Cancelo is the best fullback in the world right now. His output, his goals, his assists, his overall contribution to the game. Granted, there's still question marks over his defensive ability. The big test for him is probably this Sunday, Joe, against Salah.
Well, if you go on the debate of Trent, Reece James and Cancelo's better than Trent defensively, and he's better than Reece James going forward, plus he can play on both sides. There's your answer, firmly sorted. I mean, the man can do on both sides what they can't do on their side. Like, Trent is allergic to his back post. Reece James can attack, but his numbers have never been the greatest. Cancelo adds the numbers, he's a capable defender, and he's versatile, can do both sides, can do any role you want to give him. He can play as an attacking midfield, for fuck's sake. Like, he's right now, he is the best in the business. I think the versatility is, however, it's actually kind of a negative thing, because when you look in the market to go and sign a player, are you signing a right back? Are you signing a left back? What are you doing? Like, when we inevitably need to replace Kyle Walker because his legs fall off, what do? Do you put Cancelo on the right and go and sign a left back? Do you say, Cancelo, you're the left back, and go and sign another right back? Like, that is a head scratcher. Again, these signings, we trust Pep and the board to make these signings, because, I mean, a lot of the players that we had signed, we'd either never heard of or had no idea what they were about. I mean, who the fuck's watching the Argentinian league and going, yeah, that Julian Alvarez, get him down straight away? Like, who's sat there watching that? Not a lot of people. There will be someone who says, oh yeah, I am, I did, I knew what he was about. You're a liar if you do. You're a liar. But there's no proof, so I can't really say you haven't. But, like, this is the thing. Like, we haven't signed a Galactico. We signed one, and that's Haaland. And he didn't cost what, a top superstar would have cost. So essentially, we still haven't. Our record signing is Jack Grealish, and he was a good player. He was a very good Premier League player, but he was by no means a world-class superstar when we signed him from Villa. The price tag obviously was, but in terms of him as a player from Villa, he wasn't like this, superstar. Under Pep, we've never signed anyone who you've gone, yeah, they're the best in their position. We've always turned them into the best in their position, or one of the best in their position. And Cancelo's another one where he's realistically, he's not a fullback. I think under many managers in world football, apart from Pep Guardiola, he's wasted at fullback. Like, he's just far too good going forward and technically to be playing as a fullback. But Pep makes it work. He sticks in there, gives him a role. And it works, and extended to the best in his position. Like, there were times when he used to play for Juventus before we got him, he used to play on the wing. He used to play on the wing and just cross it to Ronaldo, because he was so good going forward and had such good technical skills that they felt he was almost wasted at right back, and went, you know what, you move forward and just ping it to Ronaldo. That's your role. But Like, it's so weird because you look against Southampton, he's playing left back. No, he's not. He's playing left wing. We're playing a front four. He's left wing. Like, it's so odd. And the thing is, against Salah, I don't want to tempt fate here, lads, but he has put Salah in his pocket before. Like, he has done that. When, when we were in the bottom half of the table ourselves a couple of years ago, when we, was it 1-1? I think it was 1-1. It wasn't 0-0. It was 1-1. Salah, I think, scored a penalty, but Cancelo had him in his pocket for that game. I'm not worried about him defensively. Was it Jared Bowen last season who said Cancelo's the toughest defender he's ever faced? That surprised me. Now, I still think he's bullshitting and he's lying, but it did surprise me a lot that he said, yeah, Cancelo's, he's tricky to get past, which, to be honest, we all know that is the weakest part of his game. Defensively, he loves picking up a yellow card. We all know it. He fucked us over last season when he picked it up against Atletico Madrid and got himself suspended in the Champions League. He loves a yellow card. So does Rodri. He loves a yellow card, but he's capable. It's not like he's a poor defender. He's capable. And again, we've signed a player. I mean, we absolutely fleeced Juventus in that swap deal. I am sorry. I love Danilo. I love Danilo so much, but all my days we absolutely fleeced him. Like, we sent Danilo and cash for what is now probably the best fullback in the world. Like, these shouldn't be allowed to happen. It's like Ruben Diaz. We sent Otamendi in cash. Like, it's not allowed. It shouldn't be fair.
I know. Listen, with Cancelo, he's probably right now the prime example of how Pep identified a very good player, negotiated a cowboy deal with Juventus. It was like, listen, we'll give you this guy Danilo here. He's a decent player. You like him.
He's a Champions League winner. He used to play for Real Madrid. Listen, you love him. He can play on both sides of the fullback.
And we'll give you 30 million as well. How about that? Give us Cancelo. And Juventus were like, yeah, we'll take that. So listen, he's another example, and probably right now, like I said, the prime example of how Pep finds these really good players and turns them into world class players. And I know I said there is a slight question mark over Cancelo's defensive ability, because we have seen on occasions him have lapses in concentration and his defensive, I suppose, zonal or spatial awareness, if you like. But overall, it's not bad. It's definitely not as bad as Trent Alexander-Arnold. You people in the chat will know. Trent Alexander-Arnold defensively is rock bottom. There's very few fullbacks in the world or at the top level worse than Trent defensively, but he gets away with it because he's so good in attack. Cancelo is equally as good in attack as Trent Alexander-Arnold, and he's better in defense. What does that mean? He's a better fullback. So the conversation there, it's an interesting one, and Cancelo is going to be absolutely massive. He is one of the first names in the team sheet for Sunday. You best believe that, and he's going to be absolutely imperative and instrumental for us against Liverpool on Sunday. What are people saying? 2 good games, rather have Palmer, says Barry McGowan. Yeah, I think we had the conversation. If you missed that, go back and listen to it. We agreed that at the moment we don't think it'll be the case. We think Pep will still probably choose, in the pecking order terms, Mahrez over Palmer, but we would prefer to see, just because of what we've seen so far of Cole Palmer, him get the nod and him get that, move up the pecking order. City will avenge Community Shield. Obviously, blood on their hands. They need to go and avenge that Community Shield loss to Liverpool. I really would love to see Haaland score in Anfield. Obviously, Sergio had some big misses in Anfield. Mahrez, we spoke about the penalty miss. We've had some tough days in Anfield, people. We really have, where we've gone there and played them off the park and still drawn or lost somehow. We've gone there with really high hopes and froze, like I said, rabbits and headlights. You freeze up in the occasion. Maybe this mythical atmosphere in Anfield gets to them. I don't know what it is, but if there was ever a day where you think, you know what, we could actually go out and pump these lot, it's this Sunday, and Haaland is going to hopefully go in with that Cole mentality. But like, I keep saying it and I keep contradicting myself, but I'm trying to avoid Liverpool talk because there's big previews coming up here. But we're going to move into Haaland talk now. I think we may as well. We've been streaming for over an hour now, but we'll give it another 10 minutes or so. I want to have a conversation about Haaland, about him not playing against Copenhagen. What does that mean? Was there any injury concerns? Pep did talk about potential injury concerns over Haaland. We're going to get into it all. Don't get too worried, people. We're not about to drop any bombazzos and tell you Haaland has broken his leg or anything like that. We're just going to have a conversation about basically what we've heard. Paper talk, if you like, and Pep quotes. But before we do, one last time, I want to say there's 50 people in the building right now. We've just passed 3.8 thousand subscribers, just literally in the last few minutes. Thank you so much to everybody who has subscribed to the channel. This genuinely is a fantastic community. All 50 of you in the chat right now. There's so many people people come back and get involved in the chat regularly. You give your thoughts. I'm always reading. When Joe's talking, I'm listening to Joe, but I'm also reading what you guys are saying because it's so interesting. 3.8k, we're absolutely buzzing with that. Hopefully we can hit 4,000 subscribers soon. Absolutely love to hit 4,000. So hit the like on the stream. It helps the channel grow. It helps more people come in. We can get this community booming. We're so glad to have you all here. And listen, Joe, the talk about Haaland over the last week since the Southampton game was, would he play against Copenhagen? We said we'd rather him not play against Copenhagen, or you did a preview, I think, for that with Revel. I don't know, did you start him? I don't know what you went with there, but my thought was I didn't want him to play against Copenhagen. I wanted him to get a rest. He got that, and genuinely, when I heard that final whistle go, Haaland never stepped across the white line and never had to play, I was buzzing. The guy needed a rest. I also made a point on a stream recently that we can't overdo Haaland, we can't overuse Haaland, and sorry, I know it's like a drug. Every time Haaland scores, you get like this high off it. You get this adrenaline rush where you just go, wow, this guy is scoring, and he's doing it for my football club. It's just crazy. And you just want more. You just crave more all the time with Haaland. But you have to pull yourself back a bit and realize, for the greater good of the team, for the long-term benefit, not playing him in every single situation and every single game where there's a little bit of pressure or things aren't going your way is only going to benefit us. So I think Pep managed that situation against Copenhagen really well. I think other managers in that situation where it's 0-0, there's 20 minutes to go, Copenhagen are doing a bit of attacking, we're doing a bit of attacking, neither team is really getting clear-cut chances. Another manager would say, fuck it, throw on the Norwegian. He's most likely to get a goal. Let's go for the 3 points. Pep didn't do that. Pep said, you know what? We have pretty much got qualification sorted here. We should still get top spot, but we've got Anfield on Sunday. We don't need to use this guy. And then something else to add to the story was Pep did say that after the Southampton game, Haaland had a little bit of tightness. We didn't know this before the Copenhagen game. We didn't know. Pep didn't make that clear. He said it after the Copenhagen game that Haaland had a bit of tightness or a bit of a niggle of some sort. Nothing too serious. So it was more precautionary just not to play him at all. So that just adds to the goodness or the benefit of not playing him against Copenhagen. And hopefully, Joe, he's all the better for it on Sunday. How do you feel about the week that's just gone by? We're given weekly updates on the life of Erling Haaland.
Yeah, you see the stream title, injured? No, he's not. That picture on the screen right there is him training today. So we've got you. We got you. Listen, the talk of the town after the game.
We got you.
We got you. The talk after the game was, Pep said straight after Southampton, he didn't recover well. He then trained and he was better, but they didn't want to risk him, which is fair enough. I wouldn't want to risk him when we've got Liverpool coming up either. I don't care if it's Tuesday, Sunday and it's a big gap. I still don't want him to be broken by the time we go to Anfield, because that is quite possibly, out of anyone to get injured, I think he's possibly the worst person to get injured before we go to Anfield. So you need to bubble wrap him, cryo freeze him, whatever, put him in a pod, charge him up, get his batteries going. Fucking robot. Getting prepared because, listen, he failed the first Liverpool test. We have to be brutally honest. I know we were still settling in and he'd played fuck all football, so it's not really like the be all and end all, but he still failed it and he missed an open goal. Couldn't score against Adrian. So, that's something to keep an eye on, but, listen, I'm happy that it's nothing serious and that he hasn't decided to take a risk. I'm a little bit concerned that he said the same thing about Bernardo Silva and Phil Foden and then brings both of them on as substitutes, but it is what it is. I have full faith that both of those, being energetic players who can essentially run, they'll be fine with a little bit of, fatigue. And listen, again, we've got this big gap. Tuesday, Sunday, the biggest gap. Tuesday early kickoff as well. The biggest gap we possibly could have hoped for this. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's a good thing because we've got more time to recover, but it's also a bad thing because it had been an age since we played a game of football. But listen, panic over. No need to panic. This guy will, even if there is a risk to play him against Liverpool, he will be risked. There is no risk. Listen, he has to play. I think that's, again, it's probably his, I wouldn't even say this is his biggest test. I know Liverpool on paper, and you can say that they will raise their game, and it's Van Dijk who is supposedly the greatest centre-half of all time. Load of bollocks that, but that's what they label him as. It's not even his biggest test. Like, I'd still fancy him scoring. I still fancy him getting a goal and keeping his run going. I'm much more concerned about that run coming to an end against a team like Spurs, who will sit with a 5-back and 2 holding midfielders. Liverpool won't do that. Regardless of how bad it gets, Liverpool won't go that far. Like, Klopp's not going to go that far, especially when he doesn't have a right-back. So, listen, I'm looking forward to the game on Sunday. I think it's one of the times where I've gone into it extremely confident. I think we should have won last year. We won the year before when they had like 2 fit players. But listen, I'm excited, and people have been making fun of the Van Dijk record already, haven't they? Saying Klopp's going to bench him on Sunday just so he can keep the record. Well, he won't do that. He won't do that because, again, he's been labelling us as the best team in Europe at the moment. Of course he will. I don't know how he can, actually, considering we're not top of the league and Pep says that Arsenal have been better than us. But listen, I think he's right. At the moment, we haven't lost a game. Would I take a draw just to stay unbeaten? No, I wouldn't. They're 10th in the table. I want to go and beat them. I want to go and say that we've won at Anfield when they've had Van Dijk and Alisson, and not when they've had, Jordan Henderson playing centre-half. I want to go to say that I've witnessed a City team go to Anfield with, players play for Liverpool in their natural positions, no excuses, and go, we've won fair and square. We've come out the victors. What hoodoo? We've essentially already bettered our points total. We beat Crystal Palace. We've beat Southampton. Those are 2 teams that we didn't manage to beat last year. Liverpool would be another one. Spurs would be another one. I don't see why we can't go and do the same.
I agree. I really hope that Liverpool played the strongest complement of players they have. I know that they're missing quite a few, but you're right. With Haaland in the form he's in and the run of goals he's on, it's a crazy amount of goals. What is it? 23 goal contributions, 20 goals, 3 assists, and the high line that Liverpool play. And you're right that Liverpool don't seem to have a plan B when it comes to defence. They keep playing that high line. They keep pressing high. Van Dijk and whoever plays as the other centre half will do so. You just see space there for Haaland with De Bruyne, who obviously is getting a lot of assists the minute to play balls in for Haaland. You can just see, hopefully, and I'm like you right now in the sense that I'm very confident for Sunday, but and I'll probably be confident tomorrow with my preview with James at 5:00. But as time gets closer, like the thoughts start creeping into my head. You go, oh, it's Anfield, the bad times we had there. But you're right. If there was ever a time where we go and we beat them and we make a statement, it's this Sunday. Is Virgil van Dijk's Anfield record going to come to an end this Sunday? Is Erling Haaland going to be the man to end it? I don't see why not, people. I really fucking don't see why not. The Mad Hatter says Virgil van Dijk in Haaland's pocket. I think if there was ever a striker in Premier League since Van Dijk has arrived at Liverpool, since he left Southampton and went to Liverpool, if there was ever a striker that was really going to pocket Van Dijk, it's Haaland. It's Haaland in his current form. So we have a lot to look forward to. Hopefully. Alex says Foden will score. I'll bet my house on it. He is their bogey player, including KDB, Bernardo, Haaland. Well, we don't know if Haaland their bogey player because Haaland hasn't played against Liverpool yet. But I think Haaland has the mentality, man. We all know Haaland is an ice cold operator. He's not fazed by high pressure moments. I think he'll go into this game ready to roar, man. He's going to unleash it on Sunday, I believe. And you're right, Foden has been a bit of a bogey player for Liverpool, hasn't he? He's got a good record for us against them. He scored quite a few goals. So listen, it's all there for us. It's set up for us on Sunday in a way that it hasn't been before. Obviously, we've gone to Anfield before as favourites and come out losers or come out with results or performances that were very underwhelming. But it's all set up for us this Sunday, and the Liverpool fans are already taking the pressure off themselves, saying, oh, tonight's result against Rangers means nothing. City will still batter us on Sunday. So the pressure's on us, people, to deliver. And I think Pep and Haaland and the rest of the players, they have the experience, they have the mentality, they have the quality to get this job done. And listen, as far as I want to preview that game, I've said all I want to say on that game. Like I said, people, massive preview tomorrow at 5:00. There's 50 of you in the building right now. Take a note of it, put it on your phone, tell your mother, tell your dog, tell your auntie. Big preview, 5:00 tomorrow. Myself on this channel, joined by James Redmond. Many of you will recognize James Redmond. A lot of viral clips. Really funny guy, really entertaining. He knows his football. He loves his Liverpool. There's no one more scouse than James Redmond, so I can't wait to have him on the channel tomorrow, 5:00. Make sure you're there, people. Tune in. It's going to be a big one. And listen, we're going to wrap it up. We're going to wrap it up on a high. Haaland is fit. He's ready to go. It's stalemate in Copenhagen. We move on. It doesn't matter. We're going to qualify. We move on to Sunday. Massive game against Liverpool. And I'm really, really looking forward to it. So listen, there's 45 of you still with us right now. If you haven't done so already, by any weird chance, make sure you smash the like button. Thank you so much to all of you for supporting the channel continuously. We've just passed 3.8k tonight. So what a stream it's been. It's been fantastic to chat to all of you. It's fantastic to chat to you as always, Joe. Everybody getting their thoughts in tonight in the chat has been absolutely brilliant. Genuinely, I always really enjoy chatting to you guys. That's why we're doing these streams more regularly, and we will continue with it. So the rundown for the week: James tomorrow, 5 o'clock on the channel. Combined 11 preview, opposition fan view, going to be entertaining. Daps 10:30 Friday night. Once again, back on this channel. Make sure you're here for that too. Daps always brings good energy when he's on streams. He loves his city. He knows his stuff, and he's a funny guy too. So I'm looking forward to it. And then we'll probably do one last stream on Saturday. You know, with these big games, we like to keep talking. Let the anticipation build. It's City Liverpool, people. It's Haaland, Van Dijk. It's Pep versus Klopp. We're going to Anfield. We're taking the 3 points. Smash the like button. Hit the subscribe button. And we'll see you tomorrow at 5 o'clock for the big preview. Joey boy, wrap her up. Good night and God bless, Blues.
Listen to your heart. Tell me who you want to be. We can always start to believe. Listen to your heart. Tell me that you understand. 'Cause you are